Hello, hello, happy Monday. For all of you non-game watchers, come on and join me for a minute. I'm going to give it just a second for us to gather, and I'm going to dive right in. And if you're not able to join me live, then of course you definitely can go back and watch the replay. But good evening. As you're joining, if you would hit your share, tag somebody, invite somebody, whether they join now or join later, it'll be beneficial to them. Happy Monday to you. Welcome to Monday Motivation. Hey. How y'all doing? All right. Well, happy Monday to you. I hope you had a good Monday, a good weekend. I had a good one, had a blast. And so I want to pick up this conversation. So for those of you who are joining me, good evening to you. Hello. And definitely hit your share and invite somebody to join the conversation tonight, whether they join now or later. Tag and invite them. But I want to quickly recap, but I want to pick up the conversation from last week. I thought it was a good conversation. We talked about 6 elements that are definitely always functional in our life. And so, of course, one of those was change. And I want to hit on that tonight. I want to talk about change tonight and some of those elements. Hey, Shanky, how you doing? So I want to talk about some of those elements tonight. But the 6 areas that we talked about extensively last week that are, in fact, areas that we all deal with. We all deal with these areas in some shape, form, or fashion. And that's maturity, development, change, learning, adapting, and adjustment. Hey, Bernita, how you doing? And so I want to, we kind of talked about that. So, of course, if you missed that segment last week, you'll want to go back and watch that. And that's going to make sense for this week. So I wanted to jump back in to the conversation and kind of pick up on an area that I listed some things out in, and that is the area of change. I talked about, and I'm going to add a 4th one to it, but I talked about 3 areas of change. Developmental change, I talked about transitional change, and I talked about transformational change. And so I want to add to that, I was having a conversation with somebody, and inceptional change came up. So I want to talk about those 4 areas. So for those of you who are taking notes or you're keeping track of the conversation, the 4 areas I want to talk about relative to change. This is just change. I talked about 6 areas last week, but I want to talk about this one area tonight, and that's change. So inceptional change, developmental change, transitional change, and transformational change. All right. And so these are things, of course, that can be applicable across the board for you, yourself, anybody else. But I just want to throw this out and encourage you to think about it. All right. Think about these areas. So when we talk about inceptional change, what am I talking about? When I talk about inceptional change, I am speaking in terms of just the inception of the idea, the birthing of the idea that there's something in your life, something about you, something about your life, something that's going on in your life that needs to change. It's just like someone who's an addict. Until that person acknowledges that they have an issue, that they have a problem, that they have an addiction, they cannot address the issue. They cannot address the addiction. It's the same way for those of us who need to change or make change in our life. Until we have the inception that we need, that thought, that idea, the inception of the idea, the inception of the thought that there's something in our life, something about us that needs to change, guess what? We won't change. We won't seek change. We won't make a change. We won't transition into change. We won't even separate or divorce it because we have not taken on or even received the idea that we need to change. So number one, inceptional change has to take place because you first have to even receive the fact, acknowledge the fact, recognize the fact that change needs to happen, right? And so for a lot of us, we get into situations, we get to places in our lives, we get to the end of roads or in the middle of a road in our life, circumstances, situations that occur. And so we're trying to figure out what to do, what direction to go, and how we need to find resolution when change is a large part of finding resolution, because you've been doing the same thing expecting a different result. And so we know what the definition of that is. So it's important that you first recognize, accept, and have the inception of the fact that a change has to take place. There's something that needs to happen. So that starts the whole conversation in your mind, in your heart, and in your spirit about what needs to happen in your life if you're going to have change. All right. So that's number one. Then we have developmental change. And so, it's interesting that as we grow, as we mature, as we go through experiences in life, for some of us, we never make changes. We go through these experiences, we go through life, we have ups, we have downs, and we keep going in this circle, round and round and round, and we'll go the same circle to the left, we'll go the same circle to the right, and we never make changes. And we keep repeating these processes, not realizing that there's something about this whole developmental process that should be helping you to make some changes in your life. So what we have to do is we have to open our eye gates and our ear gates, and we have to begin to listen for things and look for things to help us make changes, right? Because if we don't do that, then the development that we go through, the experiences that we go through are all for naught, because we're not making any progress. And so sometimes it's not that you need to do something different. You just need to recognize where you already are, right? Because if you recognize where you already are and you determine what's been happening, that's why it's so important. This is why I stress my platform in this conference, pen to paper. I talk about it so much because it's so important. Because what happens is we're going through these experiences in life. We never stop. We never assess it. We never write down what's happening. We never take a look at what we're actually going through. We never document our process. We never document our life. So when we don't do that, we can't really see clearly what's going on because we never do self-evaluation, right? It's all in our head and we're just going through the motions over and over and over again. But when you sit down and you begin to assess how many times I've been through this situation, well, how many times I've been through this situation, well, how many times I've been in debt with this same kind of, a financial situation, how many times have I been in this situation, well, how many times did I go through this, how many times have I had this same struggle, right? Not on the flip side of that, look at how many times God brought you out of it. Because in the midst of the whole thing, you should be establishing not only developmental growth, but you also should be establishing some faith. Because as you go through experiences in life and you come out of those experiences, then you ought to be able to at least put a tick mark down for the Lord, because, he brought you out of it. He saw you through it. He healed your body. He healed your mind. He gave you peace. He brought you out. You understand? So we miss it. We miss it because we're not self-evaluating. So oftentimes, now we can self-evaluate other people and see that, well, they went through this last year. Or this the same thing they went through 2 years ago. They going through that again. Now you can see somebody else is going through and their revolving circle, but you can't see your own. So it is important to self-evaluate where you are and the things that you're experiencing in life. And if you're not making progress, you need to self-evaluate this thing and determine, what have I learned? What am I learning? Because see, everything that happens in your life, I don't care if it's pain, I don't care if it's letdown, I don't care if it's disappointment, I don't care if it's depression, I don't care whatever it is. All of the things that happen in your life happen for a reason. These are opportunities for you to learn. Is one of the things we talked about, one of the areas we talked about last week. It's an opportunity for you to learn. Learn and what? Develop and grow. So you should be learning and developing from your experiences in life. And applying those things to your life should cause you to have some developmental change. All right? Developmental change. Now, some of those things are gene expressions as we grow, as we develop from a child. There are things that are happening and we're developing, we're growing, we're learning from these things, these processes we go through, these phases we go through. We're learning things that help us to see that, change is happening and it's inevitable in our life. Not only that, our brain function changes. The way we thought when we were 10 and 11 and 12 years old, that's not how you should be thinking at 25 and at 35 and at 50. And if you are, it's a problem and some change needs to happen. Then we have behavioral changes. If you're acting the same way you did at 35 that you did at 20 in relationships and things of that nature, it's a problem. That's a problem. Not knowing how to move forward in situations, blaming, judging and all of this kind of thing. Because as we grow and as we develop, there should be some changes that help us to be better. Then we have environmental factors, the things that are around us. For some of us, you may have some friends that you've had since high school. I know I do. I have some friends, but not every one of the persons that I went to high school with are friends, because my environment has changed. So where I live, where I function, where I worship, what I do is different than what it was when I was in high school. So my environment has changed, which means I've changed my circle of friends. I've changed my circle of associates. I've changed my circles of connections. So things have changed as a result of my development and my growth. And then we have cross-level effectiveness or interactions. So those are things that we do from a business perspective. These cross-level interactions, people that we deal with, people that we connect with, people that we meet in our professional interactions and things of that nature. So all of these things make up who we are. So we should be taking everything that we do as a developmental process along that way to help us to make changes in our life. And if we're applying those things and if we're absorbing those things, I'm telling you, change is inevitable. But number one, you first got to have the inception of change. Number two, you got to have developmental change. So you've got to be watching the things that go on around you. And I would encourage you, get you a journal and begin to just assess these things for 30 days and look at what happens in your life on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, right? The things that you deal with, the things that you encounter, the people you talk to, the environments that you're in, the cross-level interactions that you have, because they're happening. You're just not seeing them and you're just not listening for them. Okay. All right. So then we have inceptional change. We have developmental change. And then next we have transitional change. This is a good one. So this is change made to replace existing processes, to new processes. So for instance, maybe the way you managed your house when you were 20, you made a transition and that's not how you're managing your house now. So you made a transitional change in that. How you handle relationships when you were 15 and 20 is not how you handle relationships now that you're 30, 45, 50, right? How you look at ministry and how you even study the Word of God, how you pray, how you interact, how you do meditation, how you study the Word is different now than it was when you were 20, 25, because you've made a transitional change in that, right? And so the inception of change, the developmental change has caused you to be able to make transitional changes, right? Because these are things that help you to change from one process, one way of doing something, to doing it another way. And so many of us, and I talk about this all the time, we become married and loyal to things that no longer work because we do things as a culture the way we were taught to do them, right? We do things the way we were taught to do them, the way we were raised to do them. We eat the way we were raised to eat. So a lot of us, we're not as healthy as we should be because we're not used to eating asparagus and spinach and broccoli and, all of these things that would help us, using avocado oil and olive oil and coconut oil as opposed to lard and, margarine and, vegetable oil and all these kinds of things. We use the techniques and we work with the things that we've been taught. And so we don't take the time to come outside of the box, to peep our head outside the door and see what else is available to us. What else can help you to be healthy? And here's the thing. Being healthy, as a side note, is not a one box fit all or one size fit all. It's different for everybody. So you have to figure out what works for you. But until you make that change or that step to make this transitional change, then you won't be able to do the next one, which is called transformational change. And so transformational change is a complete change. That's a change made to completely reshape a culture, to reshape a process, or to reshape a strategy. All right. So what we want to get to is transformational change. Because once we get to inceptional change was number one. Inceptional. Inceptional. I'm sorry, I may have said that wrong. So transformational change is a change that completely reshapes, right? Completely reshapes your culture. Those are the things that we grew up with, because everybody's house has a culture. You know, everybody's house has a culture. There were certain things that you ate in your house. There were certain ways the furniture was set up in your house and placed in your house. There were certain ways you did things in your house. There were certain days you ate certain things in your house. Why? Because that was the culture, right? So there are cultural changes that some of us need to make, because until we make the cultural change, we won't be able to make changes in our life, in the processes, in our professional life, or even in our associates and relationships. We won't be able to make those changes. So we have to become open. We have to make these transformational changes. And culturally is one of the biggest areas that we have to make these changes, because we're still doing things in some cases. We're doing it the way someone taught us to do it, or the way someone said we had to do it. And so we never explored doing it differently. We never explored going to another type of ministry. We never explored going to a different type of city. We never explored trying a different cuisine or different types of foods. We never, tried to do it a different way. We never tried it. So until you try it, you can't say that it's not good or it doesn't work or it won't help your life. And not only that, but just being open to hearing about different cultures and what different cultures do, how different cultures eat, how different cultures speak, how different cultures live, how different cultures study, all of these factors, right? Get outside of your comfort zone and the normality that you know and try something different. But in order to do that, you got to make change. You got to make change. And change is not change until you change. So you have to get out. And is it sometimes scary? Absolutely. Is it sometimes, it makes you apprehensive? Absolutely. Are you sometimes intimidated? Absolutely. But the fact of the matter is, until you try it, you will never know. Right? You'll never know. Some people are afraid to fly, and I understand it, but at the end of the day, until you try it, you don't know. Anything can happen anywhere at any time. And so you have to trust God at whatever level, and you got to be open for the change, because when the light bulb comes on, because for some of us, we've had the revelation, we've had the light bulb come on, we've had the street light come on, we've had the Christmas lights come on, we've had all the lights come on, but we refuse to make a change because we're afraid to move out of our culture, out of our comfort zone. We've had all the lights to come on. God's given it to us. He sent people by, all of this kind of thing. The revelation has been given. It's been spoken in church, or somebody's come behind the pastor and said exactly what the pastor said. That's confirmation to the revelation that you heard for you, for your life. You didn't make a move. You didn't do anything. You didn't make a change, right? You didn't even allow it to be conceived in your mind. And so you have to allow change to be conceived in your mind in order for you to prepare yourself for development and growth, so you can make those changes, and then so that you can transition out of one process into doing it another way. And then that helps you to get to transformational change, completely reshaping your culture, completely reshaping your mindset, and completely reshaping how you think. Absolutely, Bernita, cultural change is tough. But the thing of the matter is, that's when you're growing. When things get challenging and it feels like it's hard for you to do, that's when you know that you're growing. When you're in that little circle, and here's the thing: as long as you're in a circle, that's all you know. I was trying to see if I had something here. Let me see. As long as you're in that circle, that's all you know. That's as far as you can go. That's all you can do. But when you get outside that circle, you understand. So, here's a circle. So as long as I'm in this circle, that's all I can do. What's in that circle? That's all I can do. What's in there? That's my capacity. That's my limit. Those are my boundaries. That's all I can do, because this is the circle I'm in. That's a comfort zone. So I'm operating In my comfort zone, I'm good there because I know this circle. I know who live in this circle. I know what to do in this circle. I know how to talk in this circle. You know what I'm saying? I know my way around this circle. I don't need directions. I don't need a GPS. I don't need a coach. I don't need anybody. But when you get out here, see, it goes forever. It just, when you get out here, and this is where your success is. When you get outside this comfort zone, and this is what we're afraid of because we don't know what all is out here. We don't know the people out here. We don't know the connections out here. We don't know the opportunities out here. But when we get out here, this is where we can experience some cultural change. This is where we can have some transformational change. But you got to get out here. And so you got to figure out where in this circle you're going to let yourself out. Is it from this group? Is it from this family member? Is it from this group? Is it, what is it? Because as long as you're in here, you good. You can function. But boy, when you get out here, see, it's a whole lot going on out here. All kind of stuff going on out here because there is no capacity limit. The restrictions are taken off. The boundaries are open up. So there you can go a whole lot of different places, do a whole lot of different things, but you got to come out of the circle. Is that good? You got to get out the circle. And so for some of us, that means relationships, children, getting past. For some of us, we can't let relationships go, old relationships. We still hanging on. We still trying to, deal with things that, are old and outdated. You got to move past that. We're trying to deal with children that are grown. Let them be grown. Let them figure it out, right? Let them get to a place that they know God for themselves. They know how to handle life for themselves. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to always be there. So there are a lot of things that we need to let go of so we can get out there and we can experience life. He said that he came that we may have life. Jesus said, I came that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. And so some of us are not living the abundant life. We're not experiencing the abundant life because we are in our comfort zones. And so I say to you tonight, work on what needs to change in your life. The inception of change, inceptional change, you got developmental change. All these things are a progression to help you grow, help you get to the next level. Then there's transitional change. We talked about that's changing from one process, how you do something, to another. Then there's transformational change, which is a total, complete reshaping of your culture, reshaping of your mindset, or your business structure, or whatever that may be. But it's a complete change. And I'm telling you, it will make a difference in your life. When you get yourself out of that comfort zone, you let some things go, let some people go, move beyond that circle, get out there and experience life, stop existing and start living. Stop just making a living, but make a difference. And I'm telling you, it is going to change your life. This weekend, I was traveling with a group of ladies, and it was an amazing, amazing time because we did some things that I hadn't done, been some places I hadn't been. And so that experience, that culture, the culture was different in that area. And so things were just, done a little differently. And so you adapt to those things, just like I talked about last week. When you open yourself up to change, it helps you to further mature in different areas. Not only that, it develops you. It helps you to make that change. It helps you to learn, right? And then it helps you to adapt and make adjustments. And that's what you want to happen. That's what you want to happen. So that you can go to the next level and do what it is that you need to do for your life. Because once children are gone, once they're grown, once they're gone and done doing their own thing, there's still a life that you need to live. And so you want to live that best life, and you want to live your best life now. So you want to experience God's absolute best for your life. So listen, assess your life for the change that you need to make, right? Let's see what we got here. Rita says, yeah, I've been out of my comfort zone for years. This is the only time in life that you will grow. Absolutely. It is absolutely the only time in life that when you get out of that comfort zone, because the one thing about that is it's fear. When we're staying in that comfort zone, we're trying to stay with what's normal to us. We're trying to stay with the formalities of life that we know and that's comfortable for us. But this is what you want to do. You want to always be uncomfortable. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because as long as you're uncomfortable, you're growing. As long as you're uncomfortable, you're open for change. As long as you're uncomfortable, you have the ability to grow, right? Any questions for me tonight? Is anything I need to repeat that I shared? I'm going to recap just a second. I'm just kind of going back to see if there were any questions. Absolutely. A transformational change reshapes your culture. Absolutely. So I talked about change tonight. Last week when I was talking about the 6 areas that we often deal with on a daily basis, which is, like I said, maturity, development, change, learning, adaptability, and adjustments. In change, there are different kinds of change. And so I talked about 4 types of change tonight. So there's inceptional change, there's developmental change, there's transitional change, and there's transformational change. And you know, Romans 12:2 tells us, be not conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? So that you can prove what is that good, perfect, and acceptable will of God. So in order for us to change, we got to start here. We got to renew our mind. And so when you think about it, and you begin to put these things into motion. First you want to do is sit down and just write. You just want to write it down. Put pen to paper and talk about, hey Sharon, how you doing? You want to write, you want to sit down and you want to just write down where you currently are, and what is it that you want to do? And when you look at where you are, write down my current state, my future state. You write down your current state and then you write down your future state, where you are. I don't care what age you are. I don't care what you're doing. Write your current state down on one side of the paper and you write future state down on the other side of the paper. And when you look at your future state and you look at your current state, and ask yourself the question, what do I need to do? What changes do I need to make to get to my future state? Because at the end of the day, it's on nobody but you. You have to decide how you're going to get there. And you have to decide when you want to get there. And when you're going to make the change to get there. So it's not that it can't happen. You just have to decide that it will happen. And begin to work in that direction. Begin to work toward making up your mind. Making a decision is the first. The inceptional change is a first step in making a transformational change in your life. Is that all right? All right. So any questions tonight? Thank you for joining me. For those of you who are sports fans, thank you for taking a portion of this Monday night to join me. I am going to resume watching the game and hold out hope for my boys and see what they do tonight. But listen, I thank you so much for joining me once again for Monday Motivation. It is always a blessing and I always look forward to it. So listen, share this on your platform, on your page with your friends, tag somebody, invite, and encourage them to watch it. Hopefully it'll impact their lives. That'll cause them to think about where they are in this season. I still say that this is the year. This is the year for the birthing of promise. This is the year for your manifestation for the things that you've been believing God for. And I'm telling you, I am a witness that God is faithful to his word. He will do exactly what he said he'd do. You just got to believe him and you got to trust him for the manifestation. So listen, I'm seeing God do some things that I wrote out last year. God's causing them to come into manifestation this year. He'll do the same thing for you because he has no respect to a person. It's the same grace. The same grace that's on my life is the same grace on your life. And so I'm telling you, you can do it. You have a measure of faith and you have the opportunity. Manage your measure. I got that from my son. He said, manage your measure. And so we have to manage the measure of faith that we have and execute what it is that God's spoken to our life. And for all of us, he said something. He's told you something and he's confirmed it. You just got to move on it, right? And it may not be the most opportune time to do it. But what you got to do is you got to decide to step out. It may not seem like the most opportune time to do it, but I promise you, if you'll start, he'll help you finish. So you just got to know that the resources, the things you need to do what it is that God's called you to do, commissioned you to do, gifted you to do, that's number one. And so for many of you, you just got to decide, I'm going to do my gift. And if you decide you're going to do your gift, I'm telling you, your resources are already there waiting on you. So you just got to decide to do it, make the change, and absolutely believe it. Once you believe it, the rest of it is gravy. I'm telling you, once you believe, but you got to know like nobody else knows that it's your season and it's your time to do it. I don't care what that is. I don't care if it's starting a business, writing a book, applying for a new position, changing careers, starting ministry, traveling, whatever it is, you can do it. Okay, we got a question. Does cultural change mean getting to know Native Americans, for example? Not necessarily. Cultural, and you got a 2-part question. So, how do you get outside of your circle? Is it necessary for me to find, for instance, a Native American person. No. When I say cultural change, let me see what else is here. Culture somewhat, or should I just allow them to? No, when I say cultural change, now it's fine to be aware of different cultures and how people do what they do in different cultures. Absolutely, you can read up on that so that when you come in contact with different cultures, when it comes to nationalities, ethnicities, then you are aware and you're not uneducated on how to receive them, how to interact with them, okay? But when I say cultural change, I mean your thought process. For instance, I use the simple analogy that we have cultures in our houses. We have culture in our churches. So for instance, let me do churches because that's real simple. Baptist churches have a different culture from Pentecostal churches. Pentecostal churches have a different culture from Church of God in Christ churches. Church of God in Christ churches have a different culture from Church of Christ has a different culture from Church of God in Christ. So every denomination has a different culture, meaning there's a different way that they do ministry, that they do church, right? So like in your Baptist churches, the culture of a Baptist church were hymns. And your Methodist church does hymns, and your Church of Christ does hymns. But that's one of the cultures of the Baptist church, right? When you think about Church of God in Christ, you hear more upbeat Jubilee type of music, more celebratory music. Not a lot of hymns necessarily. Just an example. The preaching styles are different in your Baptist church than you have from your, well, they used to be very distinct. Some of them are crossing over now. But you have the more charismatic in your Word of Faith churches and in your Church of God in Christ churches. And so there's a culture that does hooping. There's a culture that doesn't do hooping. So there are different cultures. So the same thing with your home. You may cook dishes in your home that other people don't cook in their home. How you clean your house, that's a culture. You've established a way of doing something. And so when I talk about cultural changes, I'm talking about coming out of traditions, right? Coming out of traditions and doing things differently than you were taught to do them by your parents or your grandparents. Because as time goes on, things are evolving. God is not changing, but he's doing a new thing. And so we have to be ready for it. It's just like, there's some things that we used to do back in the day, like we had rotary phones and stuff like that. They don't have it. Most people don't have a landline phone in their house now because we all use cell phones. And we take our phones with us wherever we go. That's a cultural change. And so we have to adapt to this age and this time. So you don't have to, go to that extent, but it's good to know. Okay, good deal. Wonderful. All right. So good deal. Hey, Tammy, how you doing? Anybody else have a question about anything that I shared tonight? We talked about inceptional change. We talked about developmental change. We talked about transitional change, and we talked about transformational change. Listen, I'm telling you, it's a whole new life. When you decide to make some changes with your health, your eating habits, traveling, getting out of your circle, doing things different, I'm telling you, it's a whole new life. And I know for me, it just blesses me to be able to have those new experiences and be exposed to different things. And so, try it. Try it. Absolutely try it. Anybody else have questions before I go tonight? Anybody else? If you came on toward the end, definitely go back. You want to go back and watch the beginning of this. If you weren't on with us last Monday when we talked about the 6 areas, maturity, development, change, adjustment, adapting, and learning, then go back and look at that, because this was kind of a segue from that particular conversation last week. Yep, Tammy, absolutely. Breaking down the barriers. We got to change. And so, we become so compartmentalized that we can't interact with one another. Thereby, we can't grow, and so it's so, it's fine. It's fine. I'm glad you're able to jump on. But I just wanted to encourage you to definitely go back and listen to the top part of the session on tonight. I think it'll definitely be beneficial. But this is something that we have to work on. We have to work toward it. We have to open ourselves for change. We have to conceive the idea that change is necessary. And whatever area it is that you need to work on, just self-evaluate. And don't forget to do your future state and your current state. your homework. That's your homework now for next Monday. Do your current state and your future state, and then determine what change you need to make to get from your current state to your future state. And for those of you who feel like you're in this circle, this is what you want to work toward getting out of. You want to get out of this circle so you have all of this where there are no boundaries, there's no limitation, and you're free to explore and be exposed to the things that God has for your life. So, but you got to get out of this circle. And some of us has been in this circle so long, we don't know what to do to get out of it. So you got to sit down and you got to talk to yourself. You got to talk to God, and you got to begin to work your way out of that circle so that you can experience all that God has for your life. Is that good? All right. Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Listen, share this. Will you? Will you share it? Share it with your platform. Share it with your circle. Share it with your friends. Tag somebody. Invite somebody, and share this information with them. I think it will be a blessing to their life. All right. And because we want to help each other. We want to help each other to grow. We want to help each other to move to the next level. And we want to help each other to have God's absolute best, because we can do it. We can have it, and we're supposed to have it, because there's a gift down on the inside of you and you want to stir it up. All right. Listen, it's been wonderful. Here again, Monday Motivation. We're here every Monday night, 8:30 Central Time. So listen, join me again next Monday night right here, and we're going to continue the conversation, and we're going to continue to talk about growing and development, and not only that, but letting go, because it's a season, and I just, feel that in my spirit that we've got to figure this out. I've run across people that are experiencing the same kind of situation, learning how to let go, relationships, children, grown children. We've got to learn how to let go. And especially for us as women, we're nurturers and we're sensitive. And so we deal with things, oh, you're welcome, Rita. We deal with things sometimes unnecessarily. When it's time to let go, we're still holding on, and we're still trying to nurture, and we're still trying to, do the things we did. We got to make that cultural shift. We got to make that cultural change. And some of us don't realize when you let go, you help that person to change. You help that person to grow up, and you help that person to develop, and you help them to make a transformational change. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more next Monday night. So listen, make sure you're here next Monday night. Invite somebody to join with you, even if you want to get a circle of folks. We're going to talk about it, and I may go a little bit longer next week, but we're going to talk about that because it's really, really, really a needed area, and I want to stay there as long as the Holy Spirit leads me there and share with you guys. All right. Thanks so much. Once again, have a good week, a blessed week, and I'll see you again next Monday night. Oh, I may jump in. The 12-hour prayer conference is happening in Chicago, Illinois this weekend. Pastor John Hanna. So going to be a part of that. I'm so excited. It was such a blessing last year. And God just did some amazing things in my life. As a matter of fact, some of those things that were revelation during that time of prayer, God's causing them to be manifested this year. And I'm absolutely excited, ecstatic about it. So heading out this weekend. So I solicit your prayers to be a part of that prayer conference. So I'm probably going to jump on and just share a little bit with you while I'm there. So look for that. But otherwise, I'll see you next Monday on Monday Motivation right here. Same time, same place. All right. Love y'all. Have a good week. Bye-bye.